Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praise, it's the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who was wisdom? Who was the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Are you getting tired of all the false flags, all of the false stories, all of the stories that seem to just repeat themselves over and over again? You know, the last couple nights they were talking about how Israel is attacking Iran and how this is the beginning and this and that. You know, I don't know how many times a country is going to allow someone to just attack them and there's no response. Call me when there's a response. Call me when it's a real fight, not someone hitting one person and someone else just taking it all the time. You see what I'm saying? Like that, this stuff has been going on for years. Same thing over and over again. Oh, we're gonna let them get some tanks. This is another escalation for World War III. You know, it's like same things over and over again. Oh, well, China's just waiting for the United States and NATO to deplete their weapons caches so that they can go into Taiwan. We still got 2 or 3 more years before that happens. See, what you're going to understand is this. This stems from them stealing our records. This all goes with them stealing our records, them not having any understanding about our records, and them giving their breakdowns. And now they've painted themselves into a corner to where they can't admit that, yeah, these records are not ours. Yeah, we really don't have a good understanding of them. So they got to go for broke and continue with the same things over and over again. Just like the young man that was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And now all of a sudden, the law enforcement can do everything right as far as firing people, pressing charges. And now people are like, oh, we don't have a race problem. It's a whole problem with the system. I saw some person put that up on one of these preppers put that up. And it's like, no, 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 no. See, we're at the end now. Where was all of this before? Where was all of this? Hey, take those white officers and fire them and, give them charges. No, it was always like, well, no, let's not be hasty. Let's not jump to conclusions. What did the perpetrator do? We got to make sure that, hey, the cops can go home to their families. See, that's how it used to be ran before. You putting so-called black people into positions to destroy their own people is nothing new. That goes all the way back. That's all part of, our people making a covenant with you, just like they did in the Maccabees. They'd make a covenant with you, and then they would be able to do a lot of the things that you would do to our people. In fact, they would even want to do it worse to show how down they were with you. But what you got to understand is that, this all goes back to you stealing our records and not having a good understanding of what the records were really talking about. That's why all of your prophecies are garbage. They're all trash. They're all revolved around war. They're all revolved around a people that did not inhabit those lands at those times. The people in the Ukraine were not in the people of the Ukraine, when the Bible was written. People in so-called Russia were not the same people that are in Russia today. People in all these lands were not the same ones that are in the lands today. So therefore, at the end, how can you say that these people are fulfilling types of, prophecy? That's the whole thing. We're going to get into some more information because, like I said, all of the real prophecy has been written in the stars. The story of Yahushua is written in the stars. The story of him, being sacrificed. Story of him redeeming his people. That's all in the zodiacs, and we're going to get into that right now. So, but like I said, you keep looking at these stories and nothing new. They just got to step up their game a little bit, and they got to, we're going to send these rockets in and we're going to do this. It's like, hey, how many times are they going to be able to do that without a response? There's no response because that's not prophecy. There's no response because it's all scripted. How long before you realize that all these things that they're talking about are scripted? They're still not talking about, why we're stuck only reading 66 books. Why the book of Revelation was not even canonized till way later in the first place. So, there's all these other books that were not canonized that are actually always also giving information about the last days that they're totally ignoring because they have no idea what these books mean. They're stuck with only getting the the exoteric understanding. They have no esoteric understanding. I'm going to get into this book right here. It's called The Gospel in the Stars, or Primeval Astronomy, by Joseph A. Seiss. Okay. Let's see, A Miracle in Stone, Voices from Babylon, The Last Times, Lectures on the Apocalypse, Holy Types. He's written some other books as well. Okay. 1882. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I took a lot of pictures so that you can go back and check it on your own. Okay. John 12:24. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. In connection with these words, I continue to the study of the evangelical record which we find written on the stars in the ancient astronomy. Now you're going to start to see how these churches have hijacked a lot of the understanding and really tried to apply them to their churches. But now that we've been awakened, we can see right through the lies. As far as we have gone in these investigations, 4 signs of the zodiac with their accompanying decans have been discussed: Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. 8 more of these signs accordingly remain to be considered. And to these, in their order, I propose that we now direct our attention. Order of the signs. Perhaps this is as good a place as any that may offer a remark that the fact that these 12 signs of the solar zodiac divide themselves into 3 distinct groups, each group having its own distinct subject. The first group, consisting of the 4 signs which have already been before us, relates to the person, work, and triumph of the illustrious Redeemer, with special reference to himself. The next succeeding group, consisting of Capricornus, Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries, with their several decans, relates to the fruits of his work and meteorship. The formation condition and destiny of the church, or that body of people spiritually born to him through faith and made partakers of the benefits of his redemptive administrations. Whilst the third and last group relates to the final consummation of the whole and the united glory of the Redeemer and the redeemed and the exalted condition of things, which the consummation is to realize. All this will be more clearly brought out as we proceed. Okay, at present, we make our entrance upon the second or middle group, the sign of Capricornus. Here we have the picture of a fallen goat with a vigorous tail of a fish, half goat and half fish. It may seem singular and far fetched to connect the text I have read with such a figure. A little consideration, however, will show that the subject matter in both is in fact identical, though the particular imagery is entirely different. That of the text is the image which we had in Virgo, where the illustrious Son of the Virgin is likened to a grain of corn, or seed, denoted by spica, the ear of wheat. It was necessary for this seed, or grain of wheat, to fall into the ground and die, in order to reach its intended fruitfulness. Okay, which fruitfulness arises directly out of such falling and dying. Okay, so talking about Yahushua, okay? The meaning of the passage is that Christ was to die as a sacrifice, and that by virtue of his sacrificial death, salvation was to come to man, and the congregation of saved ones formed. So that it's a congregation of saved ones is going to be formed, okay? As Wordsworth expresses it, he compares himself to a grain of corn, which would be buried by the unbelief of the Jews, but would fructify in the faith of the Gentiles, as much as to say, I will die that they may live. My death will be their birth. As the phoenix was said to arise out of the ashes and its consumed predecessor, so the church or congregation of saints rises out of the death of Christ. So you got the church. You can say both, or I guess the church. But we know who the real church is, the Most High's chosen people, or the congregation of the saints, and we know who the saints are, the Most High's chosen people. The Most High's people are the saints and the church. So rises out of the death of Christ, sacrificed for the sins of the world. This is everywhere, okay, the teaching of the scriptures, and nowhere more pointedly and graphically than in this text. And when we translate this idea into the imagery of the fifth sign of the zodiac, okay, we find another very graphic and much older picture of precisely the same thing. First of all, so we got a type and an anti-type. First of all, we have here the figure of a goat. This is a sacrificial animal. God commanded the children of Israel, saying, take ye a kid of the goats for a sin offering. Leviticus 9:31. So Aaron took the goat, which was the sin offering for the people, and slew it, and offered it for sin. Leviticus 9:15. And of the goat of the sin offering, Moses said, it is most holy, and God hath given it you to bear the iniquity of the congregation, to make atonement for them before the Lord. Leviticus 10:16-17. In the next place, this goat is fallen down in the attitude of dying. His one leg is doubled under his body, and the other is powerless to lift him up. His head is drooping and sinking in death. This is the identical falling and dying of Christ, as in the sin offering to which he refers in the text. It is the same seed of the woman and the attitude and condition of a sacrifice for sin. Christ surely was wounded for our transgressions and bruised for our iniquities. He was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people, he was he stricken. As the head of the flock he suffered in their stead and laid down his life in sacrifice that they might live. And here it is written on the stars from the earliest ages. Very important right there. And here it is written on the stars from the earliest ages, and with a vividness of pictorial representation, which no one can contemplate without realizing that the picture is intensely striking. So, this information has been written on the stars. This is huge. Like I said, so this is like why their prophecies aren't working, because the Most High is telling you that prophecy has already been written in the stars. So what they're saying and the stuff that they're trying to push isn't going to fly, isn't going to become fruitful, is not going to manifest. So all these people are still talking about, oh man, here comes the mark of the beast, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and the rapture, and this and that. Like I said, all these things were all man-made breakdowns of our scriptures that they decided to canonize, that they've approved. But as you can see, it's not happening that way. They've had their blessing. They've had their time. Just because they've hidden their blessing doesn't mean they have not had their time to rule the world. I was watching a little bit of a Assassin's Creed, the one with the Genesis and the apple and everything else, and they have a clip in there when it's talking about the Inquisition, and it had the king on the right hand side, the queen on the left hand side, and the priest in the middle. And it's kind of reminded me of, when they were getting ready to send the Spaniards over here on the second voyage with Columbus, how they let the priest be the one to set up all the people to come over here. And he knew that they were coming over here to rape, rob, murder, enslave people, and force them into forced labor in order for them to get money and possessions. But see, those kinds of things, they push these priests as being so godly and loving. But if you looked at the guy in the movie, he looked like a demon. He looked like a straight demon. These guys were probably demon possessed at that time, and the demons were probably just running everything. They were, doing their worst at that time. So, the Inquisition and the burn of the people that disagreed with them and everything else, all that has to be paid for. They act as if that has nothing to do with prophecy at all. Let's continue again. And here it is written on the stars from the earliest ages, and with a vividness of pictorial representation, which no one can contemplate without realizing that the picture is intensely striking. So how are you going to say that your breakdown of prophecy and the things that are going to happen in the future are more correct than what the Most High has written in the stars? How do you, where do they do that at? How do you even do that? But see, that's how you've got these people so shook, and you've got them so blinded that they don't even read their Bible. They're afraid to look anywhere else and look at any other alternative information. Let's continue. The names in this sign also point to the same thought and significance. Gedi and Dabi are the most prominent stars in this constellation. And in Hebrew, Arabic, and Syriac, these names mean the cut off, the hewn down, the sacrifice slain. So, like I said, it just gives you more proof, more proof, more proof. Other stars in the same constellation have names of similar import, signifying the slain, the record of the cutting off, even the elements of the name of the sign, as we still have it from the Latins, Capricornus. Okay, mean not only the goat, but atonement, sinking or bowed in death. And if there is any significance we say whatever, in these celestial pictures, we have in this sign the symbol of sacrificial death, which is the exact idea of the text. Okay? Now there's more. We'll check out this next part. The church. Like I said, we don't need to go into that because we already know who the church is. Okay? But it is at the same time a picture of another kind of life developed out of this sacrificial death and vitally conjoined with it. The body of the fallen and dying goat terminates in the body and tail of a vigorous fish. Okay? The living fish thus takes its being out of the dying goat and has all its life and vigor from thence. Accordingly, the Coptic name of this sign signifies the station or mansion of bearing. In addition to the falling and dying, it is the sign of a mystic procreation and bringing forth. That which is brought forth is a fish, which is again a familiar and well understood sacred symbol. When Jesus called and appointed his first ministers, he said, "I will make you fishers of men." Matthew 4:19. So when God said he will bring the children of Israel again into their own land, his word was, "I will send for many fishers, and they shall fish them." So this whole idea of fishing is very important, and it goes back to the sign of Capricorn with the goat and the fish. Okay? So, and that's what we've been doing. We've been being used for these last few years to do the fishing, to do this fishing, to go out and fish. Okay? That's what we've been used for. Okay? And we know that soon the time of fishing is going to be over with, and it'll be time for hunting after that. So again, I will send for many fishers, and they shall fish them. Jeremiah 16, 15, and 16. So in Ezekiel's vision of the holy waters, the word was, "And there shall be a very great multitude of fish, because these waters shall come thither." Ezekiel 47, 1 through 9. Christ speaks of his saved ones as born of water. John 3 and 5. In the parable of the dragnet and in the miraculous draughts of fishes, God's people are contemplated as fishes. Again, God's people are contemplated as fishes. So he sent out many people, many fishers. Those were going out looking for the Most High's people. Very important. So again, we got there, God's people are contemplated as fishes. Hence, in both testaments, fishes stand as the symbol of believers. Fishes signify regenerate persons. We have been regenerated. We have been dead, and we have been brought back to life. We have been brought, to just like in the valley of dry bones, when the world has taken everything away from us, took all knowledge understanding away from us, just like they did in Revelation 11, when they left our dead bodies in the street for 3.5 days. We are the regenerated ones here at the end. And that goes with fishes signifying regenerated persons. So if you haven't lost your knowledge and understanding, you haven't lost, who you are, you haven't lost your history, you haven't lost your traditions, then how can you be one of the fishes? See what I'm saying? You got to make sure you apply this to who fits these prophecies. But once you figure out who they reply to, that's when you know who, if you're not one of these people, who you should be blessing. I'm cracking up listening to these people talk about the stuff that was going on in Iran yesterday, and they're talking about, you gotta make sure that you're whoever blesses Israel shall be blessed. Whoever curses I was like, you guys don't even know what you guys are even talking about. But this is letting you know that right here, fishes signify regenerate persons. Regenerate persons. Let's look up the word regenerate. Let's just make sure. Formed or created again, spiritually reborn or converted, restored to a better, higher, or more worthy state. That would be to regenerate, to become formed again. So they always talk about being born again, but in their churches, but being born from what? How have you guys? You gotta lose things in order to to be given things back. You guys haven't lost anything. Okay, so again, fishes signify regenerate persons, says Dr. Gill. Fish are those that are wrought upon and brought in by the gospel and are so called for 6 reasons, says Greenhill. Fish are the men who have attained to life by the messianic salvation, says Dr. Herxtenberg. The early Christians were accustomed to call believers ichthus and Pisces, that is, fishes. Okay, so they were referring to these, early Christians. Those are going to be our people, Israelites. You can be calling them fishes. See, but they took that and they put it with the churches now, and they make it sound like that's something that they came up with. But these are things that have been going on much longer. Okay, in the name and titles of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, our Savior, the initials in Greek form a word or name which signifies a fish, and hence the fathers technically designated Christ as the mystic divine fish, who in the waters of baptism, okay, waters of baptism begets the multitude of fishes, the congregation of his people. Christ is therefore at once the sacrificial goat of the sin offering. So again, let's read that one more time. Christ is therefore, at once the sacrificial goat of the sin offering and the begetter of a body of reborn men. The church, the congregation of the quickened and saved, the dictation of the scriptures, thus answers exactly to the figure in this sign, which is the dying goat developed into a fish body. Now you kind of get why those popes wear the hat of Dagon, the fish god, and everything else, because it goes back in here to Capricorn. And said, they just came, took the information, like they've been doing, and apply it to themselves and to their church. But like I said, it's not going to work anymore. Not going to work anymore. That's why all their little plans, are failing. All the things they've come up with are not working anymore. Still talking about, Ukraine, Russia, tanks now. So now they're going to give them tanks. Oh, that's going to start World War III. It's like, well, man, they've been supposedly, sending missiles into Russia, blowing things up in their country. They have all these red lines, and they keep on passing all these red lines. And yeah, they might be fighting here and there, or whatever else, but they don't take it to the extreme. Because, like I said, what they're talking about has nothing to do with prophecy. It has to do with trying to save face at this point, because their understanding of prophecy is being exposed. And you see so many people that are still trying to, chase after the church's breakdowns and continue with the same things over and over again. They're still talking about the mark of the beast. They're still talking about the new world order. They're still talking about Ish being the people, and they're going to get into a war with Iran. And they're attacking Iran, and Iran's doing nothing. Does that make any sense? I mean, how many times are you gonna, fly into Syria and attack, someone, and then they don't do anything back? You don't lose one plane. You don't lose, one person. You don't lose anything. You just fly in, drop bombs all the time, and no one does anything. That makes no sense whatsoever. You know, how many times are they going to beat people down that look like us? Like I said, hey, I don't assume that everybody that looks like us is our people. But they always try to make it sound, oh, that was, we all need to come together. We all need to, those are our hey, bro, I don't know who he is. We don't know for sure. But see, that's what y'all do. Y'all want to make it sound like just because he's a so-called black man that we're all together and we all got to do this and we all got to respond this way. I said, you guys have been doing these horrible things to our people for a very long time, and you've never cared before. Now you want to act like all of a sudden now you've gotten a conscience. Now all of a sudden you want to do the right thing. Now all of a sudden you want to put people behind bars and people got to pay. People are going to pay, but you're going to pay by what our Father says, not how you want to break things down. You see what I'm saying? The true breakdown, as you can see, there's esoteric understandings of our scriptures written in the stars. Just think about that. There are esoteric understandings of our scriptures written in the stars. They've been there for forever. So that the Gentiles, when they got a hold of our books, they wouldn't understand these esoteric understandings, and they would just break it down from a exoteric, very superficial understanding, and the Most High is going to checkmate them here at the end. And that's exactly what you're seeing. He's checkmating their understanding every single day. Might not be a whole lot of people that are seeing it because they're too busy, trying to still follow church doctrine, church breakdown, because God forbid they do some research on their own. God forbid they realize that their pastors and priests are lying to them. You're going to find that out either way. You're going to find that out here on this channel, or you're going to find it out with the Most High when He cracks some skies open. You're going to find it out if He moves us, removes us, and leaves you here on the surface to deal. Because see, that's written also. That's also written in the books that they don't approve. The apocalypse of Elijah, how he sends the angels to get his people and take them away. And the more he gives us understanding, who's to say he's not going to take us under the earth? He's not going to take us to the entrances in the North Pole or the South Pole and take us inside the earth, because it says that once we're gone, then all of a sudden the whole world's going to want to listen to what we have to say. Then all of a sudden they're going to be worried, and now they're going to be interested in the things that we're bringing out. Now they're like, can we please find someone, one of the sons or daughters of the Most High, that can help us, that can show us. That's when they're going to be wanting, someone to teach them. Then they're going to realize that the devil has lied to them and has made them enemies of the Most High. So is that why the Most High has opened up understanding to the hollow earth? Is that why He's opened up understanding to the hollow earth and our brothers and sisters that are in those places, so that He can remove us to those areas while He opens up destruction here on the surface level? Is that why they're moving all this military equipment? Because they know they're not going to be able to stay in these certain lands. They're going to be getting together trying to fight against the Most High. There's a whole lot of things that you have to open up your mind to. What we have to understand is that, there have been many more advanced civilizations, many more advanced civilizations before, and this one's not even that advanced compared to the ones that were here before. And now the Most High is opening up understanding about that right now to the ones who are willing to open their minds and chase after the Most High, no matter where He takes us. All praise to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who was wisdom? Who was the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.